Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. Sorry. This is the Senate Special Committee on COVID-19. Here with me today, I'm Senator Michelle Kidani, but here with me today is Senator Kurt Favela, Senator Donna Mikado Kim, and Senator Sharon Moriwaki. And online we have Senator Dela Cruz. And we are hearing from today Office of the Governor, Chief of Staff Linda Takayama, and after her Department of Budget and Finance, and then Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, followed by the last one at 2:30, Department of Human Services. Is Chief of Staff Linda Takayama online?
Speak up to the mic is on the thing, so.
Is Linda Takayama here, online?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. I am here. Thank you. Madam Chair, I can't tell who's talking.
This is Michelle Kidani.
Thank you, Senator.
So can you give us an update on, or a response to the letter that we sent last week? Thursday? Friday?
Yes. Yes. A while back, before we really got into the coronavirus issue, there was a request made for information related to the budget. We did try to compile all of the information you requested, recently sent it over, but I do have to at least advise you that we sent information on potential budget cuts and priorities for the administration, but given all of the things that have happened in recent weeks, and some of the actions that have been taken by the administration, particularly with regard to cutting off travelers coming to our state, most of that information is probably not really very relevant at this point in time. So I would suggest it might be more useful for your future consideration as you're working on the budget for the post-COVID environment, that maybe we need to sit down and go over what a realistic budget situation would look like. I would venture to guess that a lot of the, or at least a number of the programs that we had proposed earlier in the year may not be very practical at this point in time. We're expecting a severe cutback in our revenue stream, and while in the first 7 or 8 months of the fiscal year, we did very well in terms of tax collections. That is not going to be the case going forward. In fact, there's hardly an industry that isn't at this point in time pounding on our doors asking for tax relief of some kind or other, either deferral or actual waiver. And even with additional money coming in from the federal government, we don't believe it will be sufficient to carry us through the end of this period.
Thank you. Senator Dela Cruz is online. Senator, did you want to respond to that?
Okay, thanks. So I guess, Linda, that's the second memo that was sent right before the weekend, before the legislature shut down. I guess the question was more in regards to the March 11 memo that was sent to you. Actually, it was sent to every director, asking them for their plan on how to deal with the coronavirus, and we still didn't get a response. Every time we meet with a director, director, they keep saying that they were told by you not to respond to the committee. And we find that a little bit problematic because we had asked for that information on March 11th.
Yes, and I guess my concern at that time was that things were so uncertain that we were hesitant to put information out there before we had a chance to figure out what was going on. I've since reconsidered, and I'm totally with you. You can have all the information, such as it was that they presented, but as I said, I'm not sure how relevant that information is to what we're looking at today. But I think I sent it over, did we not?
Well, I guess the point is, in these kind of times, we don't need any kind of filter when we're trying to get information from the departments, because we're asking for information on behalf of our constituents, our committees, and the Senate. And there was a sense of urgency when we first met with the administration on what's going to be the plan to do with the coronavirus. And hear from the departments that they were told not to respond. Sure.
At the time, we didn't know if everybody was on the same page because we weren't sure what exactly the strategy was going to be going forward. As I said, there was a great deal of uncertainty back then. I subsequently reconsidered, and
I don't think that's true. I don't think that that's true, because at that meeting, that when we passed out the Washington State plan, and the Department of Education had already said, you know what, we have a similar plan. We can amend the Washington plan. We can give you details. Some departments were organized, some were not. And so what we tried to do is get it directly from the departments. I talked to the Attorney General. According to our Senate rule, the administration is supposed to respond to us, but within 24 hours, unless we permit an extension of a deadline. I don't think I've ever had information filtered like that, or directors told directly not to respond to the Senate. I find that kind of alarming.
They were not told not to respond to you. What they were told is to provide to my office, and then I would send it to you. So there was never an intention to withhold the information. It's just that I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. As I said, I have reconsidered that, and that won't happen again.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't think there's nothing to reconsider, because it's the Senate rule that they have to respond. It's not like it's an option or a choice for you.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
I still don't have it.
And,
Where is it? Where are the plans?
Where are the reports?
It was sent. It was sent out, I guess maybe a week ago or so.
Sent to who? We still don't have it.
It was sent to the chair, I think.
no, because we distribute everything that we get.
It was
See,
sent.
because we didn't even get a response from the departments in writing saying, we received your memo, your request. We're going to be sending it to Linda. She's going to be compiling it. There's no response at all. So I get what you're saying. We can't.
Yeah, sorry, it was sent about a week or so ago as a, altogether, it went by email. So would that have come to your attention?
We can check, but if you notice, the memo was copied by, all senators were copied on the memo.
Well, I guess our normal practice was we would send it to the chair of the committee. And then it would be up to you whether you wanted to send it to your members or not. So that's sort of the practice I went with.
Okay, it's just that we started off having the hearings with WAM, and that was just one informal meeting, and then it went to the entire Senate caucus.
Okay, again, the request came from the chair, so we sent it back to the chair. But let me find out what happened to it. My understanding is that it went a while back, so let me see what happened. to it.
In my conversation with the Attorney General, they told us that they were still trying to ask you to reply to us.
So I thought
If you can forward what you think you sent the entire Senate, that would be helpful, because
we didn't send it to the Senate. Like I just sent it to the chair, to you.
yeah, okay, I don't recall receiving it.
Okay, let me, I'm looking for it now. I'm not sure.
Well, the memo that was sent on March 26th, asking again for these reports, yet you never got even back to us responding to say that you sent it in. We never got anything from you even saying you sent it in. We met with a week ago with DOT, who said they sent it in to you, or gave it to you because you told them not to give it to us. And at no time did we get any follow-up from you saying you sent it in. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I misinterpreted that, but I did send something to, okay, I'm looking for it now.
And I believe phone calls were made, and I don't know, Senator Dela Cruz, you left message, and we never got any response.
I didn't respond to a phone call?
Yeah, so when we first had the meeting, we tried calling you, we texted you to see if we could come down, if you could come down. And then you had responded, I think at like 9 o'clock that night saying, sorry, I just got the text. And then we tried to meet with you again, and then a similar incident occurred.
I responded with a date and time that you gave me, and I called in and was told that you were going to take somebody else's testimony, but it was going to be really short, so if I could hold on. So I did, and I waited for more than an hour, and then I had to, at that point, go to another meeting, and so, I said, I'm going to have to ring off and maybe we can reschedule, which is why we ended up rescheduling. But, I did make an attempt to, comply with your schedule. And so I have
Because
Pardon me?
I mean, I'm calling in too, and I can see who's talking on the Go meeting. I don't recall seeing you on the Go meeting. I'm sorry.
Let me just,
It was, I was there on the call. Who was talking? It was Ruth Anderson and Sarah Park.
yes.
And, Dane should have known I was on the phone.
No, we knew you were on the phone. And the meeting went longer with Department of Health on that. But,
Yeah, it was,
But
yeah,
Linda,
it was a lot longer.
but Linda, on the March 26th memo, on paragraph, it says here, we have since, the second paragraph, we have since been informed departments had submitted their response timely to your office, but we have yet to receive them. And so you got this memo, and this memo, you never once, since you got it, even called to say, there might be a mistake because I sent it in. We didn't even get that from you.
The March 26th memo?
Yes.
Okay, that was sent to me by email?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure I saw that. Okay, well,
That's how you called in.
I'm sorry if I missed one of those letters.
No, Linda, you called in based on this memo. That's why you called us. Because it says here, the committee requests a meeting with you Friday, March 27th. And then you called in, like you just said. And yes, you did call in. So you obviously got the memo. And then we asked you to bring.
Yeah, and so I responded by sending all of the documentation that had been compiled But you're saying that you didn't get that, so I'm trying to find where it is now.
No, but you said you sent it a week ago. This memo was the 26th, not even a week. And it says, please bring with you copies of the plans that have been submitted to your office and all the departments, or please submit them by 4:30 p.m. tomorrow via email. So if you had sent it a week ago and then you got this on the 26th, why wouldn't you call us
I may
back?
have been a little fuzzy on the date, or I don't recall offhand whether I had sent the information in response to a letter or just thought it was time to send it. So I'm sorry, but nevertheless, if you don't have it, I'll send it again as soon as I can find it, and then we'll.
Well, it's very
Start
disturbing.
over again.
It's very disturbing. It's
It's
disturbing. It seems like it's a delay, intentional delay of not giving us these reports.
The report is certainly available to you, although as I have mentioned, I'm not sure how relevant it is at this point in time.
I think it's up to us to make that determination.
Pardon me?
I think it's up to us to make that determination whether it's relevant or not.
Yeah, so you're going to check that information and you can make that determination. All I'm suggesting is that, the world will have changed a bit since that information was compiled.
I think we understand that, but the point is that when the Senate requests information, formal information, we request it formally, then we expect to get it, whether it's relevant or not.
Fine, I understand that.
Yeah, so my staff is checking, Linda. You did send a memo in regards to the budget cuts. What we're talking about is the March 11th memo talking about department plans in dealing with the COVID-19 response.
Okay, I guess maybe I didn't even see that. Kim, are you on this call?
Yes, I'm here.
Did we have a... Yes. Did we have a compilation of the COVID response?
That we did not request. I don't remember having any conversations with the department on that.
So I'm not sure if we have that information.
But you just said you sent it to us.
No, she sent the financials.
No, she said she sent the reports to us.
But I was talking about the financials that I had been given.
So Linda, you got plans because the departments were saying they gave you the plans, and this is COVID because we were under emergency situation. We wanted to know what were they doing in relation to the threats and what they could do at each level and what they were going to do and the resources needed. And this was a specific request. And when we asked the departments as they came in, they said they gave those plans to you. So where did those plans go if they went to you and not to us? If you were coordinating it, at least a response saying, I'm coordinating it and I'll get you something. But this was now 2 weeks later, so of course the plans would change. But at the time, we really wanted to know what is your plan forward so we could assist the departments as they serve the public. So that was really critical in that period. But it seemed that the response was not as urgent as we felt. It was because we were hearing from the public. So can you respond to that? What happened to those plans then that the departments say they gave to you on the COVID response? And they were given the Washington plan, and they said they had it, so they were responding in terms of how are we doing this, because Washington, from the Department of Health, they said they worked with the Washington State Health Department on those plans that they had for their state, and they were trying to work on lessons learned, and so all the departments were working on that, and we were expecting those plans, not the budget and the budget cuts. That was separate and apart from our reason for this committee was because we didn't see what was happening at the administration level. So can you respond to that? Where are those plans, the COVID response plans? And what did you do?
I'm not, I can get back to you on that. I don't know. I gave everything to staff to compile, and if they don't have it, then it must be, I gotta go look for it.
But then again, if you ask for those plans from the departments, not to give it to the Senate special committee that requested it, and you coordinated everything, then why don't you have those plans, and why aren't you coordinating that to give it to us, if that were in fact your intent?
I understand.
Yeah, this is Senator Kidani. Linda, I might add that we had a discussion with Attorney General Connors, letting her know it, and this is over a week ago, how dismayed we were that we felt we were being circumvented by you not allowing the departments to give us the plans directly. And she was supposed to have had a conversation with you. Did that conversation take place or not?
I don't recall. It may have. I'm sorry, I don't recall offhand.
Senator Keoho Kololi has a question.
Yeah, hi Linda. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Senator, yes.
Okay, so if what I'm hearing is correct, you've reconsidered your decision on releasing information that the Senate requested from the departments. And so we don't need you, in my mind, that means we don't need you to go search your inbox for those plans. And in fact, that's probably not very helpful because you stated just now that a lot has changed since we made the initial request, I think on the 11th of March. And so if we reiterate our request directly to the agencies today to ask for those plans, which are not the budgetary or financials plans, it was the continuity of operations plans based off of the Washington framework, where the agencies were asked for transparency's sake to articulate their essential and non-essential workforce, how they plan to maintain operations, given that workforce, and what their plans are to protect their employees, to protect individuals under their care and custody, for example, like public safety, and how they plan to move forward given the circumstances. So if you no longer are opposed or have any sort of concern, then what I guess, just to reiterate, what I'm hearing from you is that we're not going to have departments responding to us that they were unable to submit reports that we asked them to submit today because the governor's chief of staff asked that they be sent to her office first.
Correct.
Okay, great. What is your role in the incident command structure currently underway?
I guess I'm part of the senior team.
And so what decision-making authority has been delegated to you?
Specifically?
Yeah.
None really. In terms of my role is fashioning and helping to give input on the governor's office.
Okay, but it was a decision. I think because we've had a number of discussions with General Hara and the governor and Director Anderson about how to operate state government and make these decisions is structured. in the interest of transparency for the public, because the legislature is in recess and we have limited capacity to influence this decision, the decisions that are made. For good reason, because it's a crisis and there are emergency authorities put in place. But you obviously have been delegated some measure of decision-making authority because we have department, agency supervisors who have said that they took direction from you not to release documents to the Senate.
Or not to even come to meet with us.
So can you clarify what authorities have been delegated to you, or was it the governor who directed the agencies not to submit their continuity of operation plans to the Senate for the last 3 weeks?
No, it was not the governor. It was by my direction, and I work with all the departments, as you have noted.
Okay. So I think it would be helpful to this committee if, or General Hara or the governor can outline you can even draw a picture for me because I'm dense and you don't have to send me a 10-page memo, what the command structure is, so that we and the public can have some sort of understanding of where the decision-making responsibilities for particular items during this crisis fall. Because a major point of contention that I individually had was the fact that on Monday, March 16th, the governor held a press conference and denied the confirmation of a positive COVID-19 case in Kualoa on the windward side, when I know for a fact that the Department of Health had confirmation of that positive case the night before. So I would like to understand who made the decision either not to tell the governor or for the governor not to elect to announce that response. Having some understanding of how the decision-making apparatus is structured during this, now that we have moved into this incident command framework, I think would be helpful for the public's understanding of how we manage this crisis going forward, since it seems like the worst days are ahead of us.
It's possible. In that particular case you mentioned, I don't know all of the particulars because I was not involved in that particular decision making. But what I had been told was that not everybody had all the facts at their disposal. And if the governor, whoever it was, hesitated to provide all the information, it's because not all the facts were readily available.
All the more reason for us to have a better understanding of what the chain of command is, state government during this emergency situation.
Obviously, the governor is at the apex of the decision-making chain, and General Hara has responsibility for the incident command. But he works in conjunction. Nobody works alone. There is a group, actually a fairly large group, that includes not only the governor, the general, all of the mayors, and a lot of the emergency officers. We meet, currently we're meeting daily on every aspect of this particular case.
Okay, great. So you agree. So can we expect some sort of report from you or the general outlining how the command structure actually functions? Because another incident I would like to understand is who was involved in the decision making related to the cruise ship being denied the opportunity to disembark passengers, as reported by the Department of Transportation Harbors Chief in our committee, and then subsequently backtracking on that and allowing the disembarking of passengers. It's difficult above that individual's, it's difficult to go above Deputy Director Chow to understand who the primary contact is and ultimate decision maker is on any of these decisions when there's this nebulous sort of group at the top making decisions behind closed doors. Well,
It is a a small group. Usually that's involved just because for every major issue, for instance, like the cruise ship, there's so many different facets to it that different people are sometimes more knowledgeable or more key to certain areas than others. So in the case of, there were 2 cruise ships, and so, you know, the groups had to meet with a number of different parties that were involved in the decisions on how to dock the ship and how to disembark or not, as the case may be with the passengers. So, it's not...
You guys are the executive branch, you have emergency powers, it's your prerogative, it's the governor's prerogative to do what's in the best interest of the public. I'm not questioning the decisions that were made, I'm questioning the process that went into making those decisions. And if they're justifiable and good and right decisions for the people of Hawaii, then the administration should have no problem articulating how those decisions were made, and who was responsible for them. So when can we expect that that breakdown of the incident command structure? Do you need more than 2 days to be provided to the committee?
Probably. I'll confer with the governor and with the major, not the major, major general, and make sure that we're all on the same page insofar as all of those kinds of things happen.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Senator.
Linda, could I add to that request? A lot of the state services to the keiki, the kupuna, unemployment insurance, these are actually within the state jurisdiction of services going out to really a lot of people who are vulnerable out in our community. And I would like to see that command structure also include who is working with the departments in providing services to the public. So can you also give us an idea, as we saw with the departments not giving us the plans, we would like to see a way in which there would be more fluid, especially with the UI, where people are not getting their payments quickly. How can they have a better handle on not being so panicked out in the community? So if you can add to that command structure how you operate in terms of the jurisdiction of the state programs as well. Thank you.
Further questions? Are there further questions, members? Senator De La Cruz.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily have a question. I think it just internally amongst the committee, you know, I take this very seriously, just because of the fact if the departments were required to respond to that memo sooner, it would have allowed the administration to get ahead of planning, to get ahead so that we could get a lot of these processes, which now we're questioning, in place much sooner, which saves lives. It definitely will help ensure a lot more public safety, transparency, and some confidence in the system. So I hope the administration and the departments do respond to these memos. I mean, it was 3 simple questions based on the meetings that we had with the caucus because of our concern. I mean, I don't think any of us would be here if we weren't really concerned about public safety and saving people's lives. So I hope that we don't have to have this conversation again.
Senator Kim has a question.
It's not a question, it's just a request. Linda, that we were told by certain departments, they were told not to come to the meeting. And so can we request that you not tell them that, not to come to any of our meetings?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. I didn't quite get that question.
We were told by a couple of department heads, when we requested for them to come to these meetings, you told them you prefer they not come to our meetings. So can you please refrain from doing that?
They were told not to come to meetings?
Yes, not to meet with us. That you specifically told them you prefer them not to meet with us.
I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry, that's news to me.
Well, we're just informing you that that's what we were told. So we just request that you refrain from doing that. Thank you.
Senator Favela.
You know, I mean, today is my first day back. I'm on the phone periodically and listening to all the different agencies come forward. And then listening to what you were just saying from Senator Jarrett about your role and your authority. It kind of blows my mind to knowing that, you know, you told these departments for whatever level, whatever way you did it, and then answering to us that you never had any direct authority from the governor to do that, to circumvent the senators with the memo. To me, that was very irresponsible in a sense of getting this thing off the ground. And the same thing with Senator De La Cruz. The reason why I'm upset is because we're talking about lives here. I mean, this is serious. I don't know if the agencies or certain people that you have ears to, or you have their ear, or whatever situation, understand how serious this is until it hit home. And I've been talking to my community members and people that has no trust in our government, including our governor. Right now, I have a constituent in a hospital, intensive care. He's a bartender in Waikiki, fighting for his life. Fighting for his life. This is how serious it is. When I hear the agencies come and say, oh, low threat, not a high risk, and all of this, what do we tell our people in the community when we have directors and agencies telling us that you are filtering or you are not releasing things to us, who is the eyes and the ears of our community, and we're on the line here on giving them great and, you know, direct answers. So when people ask me these questions, I need to at least let them know that we did the best we can as senators, that this all falls upon you filtering things coming to the community in a timely manner. So I'm really disappointed and sad that it comes to that point when it's all about politics. We gotta take politics out. It's the people, not politics. So whatever egos is in play here, whatever the situation is, put that on the side. Because lives right now is at stake. People will get seriously sick and can die. And that's the part right now disturbing me. Listening to you song and dance to this whole committee thing. One minute you're telling us something, then the other lady came on and told you about the financial, then you come back and talk to us about the financial. This is a whole song and dance. And that's the disappointment that I have, that I gotta tell my community, yeah, have faith in me as your senator, but we have no faith in our leadership in the governor's office, because everybody's going all over the place. And that's the reason why this committee was formed, to try to get a little bit hold of that. And you know, Senator Donovan De La Cruz and the other senators over here have been working hard. I see the texts that we talk to each other 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. They're very concerned about the constituent in the state of Hawaii. But listening to this song and dance right now, I'm very disappointed. And for me, being even here shows a disappointment in the leadership, in a sense of even having confidence if we're going to have a more serious outbreak, that we're going to actually tell the people the truth. Even though you didn't have all the facts, which the governor had everybody to his beck and call. I am just a senator, just like the rest of the senators here. How can we find out things more faster than the governor, who has everybody at his fingertips? So if somebody in Kaneohe or if somebody in Jared's, Senator Jared's district was sick or whatever, and it wasn't announced, how can he not have this information? How can he not? So please, going forward, let the governor know, and let the rest of the people that you have the ear to please answer to this committee, because we're talking about life and death. Thank you.
Senator Moriwaki.
Linda, once again, you know, I have had comments from the public wanting to contribute, calling you, and getting a response that you didn't see the urgency in moving forward, moving quickly. And I think I would like to get affirmation from you going forward, if you're not in the chain of command, that you allow the chain of command to get these requests, the inventory of healthcare needs, the needs that are going forward, what the progression is of needs, and allow that to go quickly, because if we don't, we are really jeopardizing all of us in this state. We're so vulnerable if we don't get the resources we need. So I would like to see that you provide some information that you allow if it's a hyena structure that is really moving forward with the incident command with General Hara, that they be allowed to get the information they need to move forward quickly, because as you can see, things change day by day, even in 2 days, from 150 cases to 175 cases. Is really looking at how can we prepare going forward. So I would strongly urge you to work with that structure and allow for more prompt action if we may. Thank you.
So Linda, it's Senator Kidani. My comment then is, with the comments and questions that have been discussed in these past few minutes, that it's difficult for us to expect the public to be serious about, stay at home and quarantine yourselves, and we're not getting consistency from leadership. So as soon as possible, if we can get the plans from the departments that we asked for since March 11th, we would appreciate that. And I know that the governor is going on a press release, a media info at 2:30 p.m. today. I'm not sure exactly at the time. But my request is, can something like this be done on a daily basis by the governor and General Hara as incident commander, and maybe Dr. Bruce Anderson as Department of Health, and to let the people know statewide and hear it statewide from one source, rather than us having to get questions and repeat them to the governor, and maybe they get to him and maybe they don't. But this would stop the inconsistencies and the rumors that are rampant across the state, because we don't have something that's consistent every day from our governor. Will you take that back to him, please?
I will do that, and I'll see if we can set something up. I don't know if it's something that can be done daily necessarily, but on a regular basis. We do meet with House and Senate leadership on a weekly basis, and I guess the expectation is that that information gets shared throughout the caucus, but maybe we can do something else similar to that.
Thank you. I just think that the public should know as soon as possible, and for us to have trickle-down information and not everybody getting it at the same time just causes speculation and rumors. Thank you. Further questions?
Yeah, just to bring up sense about the letter, and I know this was addressed to the governor and not you. Can you follow up with the governor on what happened to the letter that I sent to him on March 18th? On what is the specific steps that he is in place for our homeless population? Because the ones that's going to bring it to community will be our homeless population, because they transit on the bus and they go all over the place, and they have the interactions with the tourists by either getting money or donations when they sit on the corner and people feel sorry for them and give them handouts. They have interactions with the tourists. When they go into the communities, this is when it's going to be spread. So can you find out for me what happened to the letter that I sent him on March 18th? And I just wanted to know what would be his steps going forward when working with the state on the homeless population.
I I will try to track that down. The homeless population is particularly difficult for us to deal with in this COVID environment. We're following the recommendations of the CDC, the major one of which is that we allow them to congregate and do not disperse them from their locations, because what happens is that they do then split up and go into the community and possibly have greater exposure. So that's been a challenge, because if we allow them to congregate, CDC is saying they can congregate, but they still have to keep 6 feet apart from each other. But, I'll track down that letter and see if we can get you a response.
Yeah, because the letter specify instructions and information on how to probably start the process of working with them. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Senator De La Cruz.
Yeah, Linda, can you identify who from the administration is going to be the manager or point of contact for federal dollars coming into the state?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I got the last part of it. Identify who coming into the state?
Can you identify who from the administration is going to be the manager or point of contact for the federal dollars that are coming into the state?
We're working on that. The federal dollars coming into the state come in through a number of different sources. For instance, if you look at the bills, the 1,200-page bill, the funds generally come down through existing pipelines. So, for instance, if the money is coming for health department programs, it goes through, basically it's an expansion of existing programs. Same thing for every other kind of assistance. The unemployment insurance money, for instance, will go to DLIR. Others will go to other funds that have previously been set up. So to the extent that we can, we're going to be tracking them, I would guess, through BNF.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not going to be funding things that we just normally fund. We want to make sure that the monies are going to be properly leveraged so that we can get maximum benefit in responding to the current situation.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the bill specifically states that we cannot use that money to pay for any of our budget shortfalls. It can only be used for COVID-type purposes. They're supposedly sending it down relatively soon for the federal government, and we have to expend it by the end of the year.
Okay, so do you have someone in the administration as a point of contact that's going to ensure that that occurs?
Yes.
Who is that?
Probably we'll do it through budget and finance.
Okay, so BNF is going to some extent, audit all the dollars to make sure that it's not going to be spent for shortfalls.
Correct. We'll have to work closely together, because as I said, the money is coming down through, to some extent, existing pipelines. Some of them might come down through our new emergency setup that General Hara runs, but it's kind of all over the place, so we'll have to be very vigilant in figuring out where it all is going. And it's still kind of early yet. We don't have all the details yet on specifically how the money is coming down and what the requirements are for each.
Okay, I guess hopefully if you have an existing structure or infrastructure on how you're going to oversee and spend the dollars, and if we have to amend it for the current situation, I think that's easier than having to build something from scratch.
That's correct. To the extent that we can, we would use existing structures just because we don't have a whole lot of time to set something up. And for the most part, the monies that are coming down go to specific programs through existing pipelines. So, it kind of doesn't make sense for us to put something up anyway, because that's not where necessarily all the money is. So it's not going to one specific place. It's going to a number of different places.
No, I get that. I just want, there has to be somebody that's accounting for all of it as it's moving around the state, though, so that we have some transparency where it's being spent.
Yes. So we're asking Budget and Finance to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions for Chief of Staff Linda Tapayama? If not, thank you, Linda. Thank you. Short recess.
This is the 205.
When was it appointed? Was it last week? Thursday, when it was 120? Because 205 would be about a 45%.
Friday it was.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Saturday, Sunday was 175 from yesterday to today.
It's been about 25 cases.
turmoil in the last few weeks, but we are going to try and issue.
In that regard, there was also discussion that monies would flow through the current system. For example, UI would go through UI. I think DHS has some funds. And there will be more funds. For example, UI having a lot more funds. How will that flow through? And do you have any oversight on that, or is that going directly flow through to, for example, DLIR?
Okay. The 1.5 billion in particular, the amount that's going to go to the state needs to be allocated. Okay. Some of the other funds like UI and some of the direct aid to agencies like the Air Guard and the Army National Guard and places like that are going to be funneled Linda said, directly to the agencies based on existing channels. I mean, that's the way the CARES Act is set up.
Okay, shifting from the federal to the current, because we are in crisis mode, we are in emergency authorization. How are monies being released quickly so that it can get to the programs, for example, the health care, for the DHS programs, for the other programs that currently exist? What is your oversight, or is there one through the HIEMA structure?
Well, from our standpoint, the problem is cash flow, and that's why we're trying to get a handle on the revenue projection. And also, as I was saying earlier, some of these federal funds are not going to appear overnight. That's the other problem. We believe some of the expenses will be eligible for federal funds, and they will cover a lot of the COVID-19 expenses eventually. But we're trying to find out, in terms of advancing funds, say, to state agencies, just what the demands are and what our resources are right now in terms of available cash.
So one last question. Are you then the coordinator of all the departments, seeing what are high priorities? I mean, certainly the most vulnerable populations, those expecting to get UI checks, these are vulnerable community residents who need services right away. Are you working with these agencies to see where the cash flow should be, the spigot should be a little bit, turned on, because there are needs, and otherwise they'll be homeless in the streets if they don't get the services. Is there any way of prioritizing the funding that's going and ensuring that departments who have these kinds of vulnerable populations can care for them immediately while waiting for federal infusion of funds?
Well, my understanding, for example, is that unemployment insurance is not short of cash right now. There are other agencies that may be short of cash before the federal funds come in that they're expecting. And we're trying to get a handle on what that looks overall so that we can, better manage our cash resources.
My question was, are you working on that, and what is the plan forward in terms of these agencies? Do you have a plan in terms of what are these programs, and what is their cash flow problem now or not? Do you have some kind of inventory like that among all the agencies?
We're working with the agencies, yes. Like I said, not all of them have problems right now.
Okay, thank you.
Members, further questions? Senator De La Cruz, did you have any questions?
No, just a follow-up to Senator Moriwaki. So I guess when BNF has those plans in writing, if they can just copy the committee.
Yes, sir. I mean, we need to work with the House and Senate. This is going to take a joint effort.
Senator
No, thank you. You did that.
Senator Keohopolole, do you have a question? None. Okay. Craig, it's Michelle Kidani. I wanted to know whether or not there will be further releases of any CIP funds.
Yes, there will be. We are, as you know, because of the third emergency proclamation, we're working with, we have been working with something in the skeleton staff for the last week or so. But I'm telling my budget people that, we've got to ramp up to what amounts to a war footing with this CARES Act, because we got lots to do, plus we've got to work with you folks on the budget.
Thank you. Have you identified, can you identify a list of projects that have already lapsed, that we have lapsed funding that had not been released in the last 2 years?
I think we have one. I'm not sure. I'd have to check and get back to you on that.
Thank you. Senator
We've been working
Moriwaki.
with, sorry.
I have one more request, Craig. On the March 13th memo to Linda Takayama from you said you are drafting a continuity of operations plan being updated. Could we have a copy of that? I don't know if you sent it in already, but it would be good to see what you have planned. If it's updated, an updated plan. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get with my ASO on that.
Thank you.
Senators, any further questions of Department of Budget and Finance? If not, thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're a little behind. We have a 2 o'clock with Director Scott Murakami from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, and I see Scott is awaiting. Hi, Scott. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So with us here is Senator Favela, Senator Kim, Senator Morikawa, and myself, Senator Kidani. Online we have Senator De La Cruz and Senator Keohopolole. Would you like to open with a statement, Director?
I would. So I'm going to start off with sharing with you some of our most recent findings and kind of put it into context for you. So in February, our official number of people who are unemployed was 17,850. From March 1st to March 28th, we took in 116,916 filings. You put that together and you put that together and you take in the official UI count from February and the filings we had 134,766 filings and claims. So the reason I make this distinction is because, as you know, we did have some system degradation that started around the afternoon of Wednesday, March 18th. And to address that, we created a web form. So the web form is now the information that came in through the web form is now being ingested into our IT system, our UI system, that in the mainframe converts it into a claim. So I did want to make that distinction. And the reason why it's important, because the filings, there were some replications. So I think we found approximately, I think it was about 11,000 duplicates. That's people filing, they're not sure they got in, so they file again and file again. So naturally you can understand that would happen when the community is concerned and worried about the situation. So that's where we stand now. I would tell you that first off, I did want to thank all of our employees. They did a fantastic job turning the system around in 2 days and getting it up and running. But we are now moving into the second phase of our plan. So basically, on Monday, the 22nd of March, at 10 a.m., we opened a brand new call center within our office, as well as at 2 p.m. launched that web form. The challenge now is that we're moving from filings into processing claims and claims examining. So what we're going to be doing are a number of things. One, we worked with the Entrepreneur Sandbox at HTDC, which is an attached agency for TBED. They will be hosting our new call center. We look to be setting up that this week. We are going to we have 2 phone numbers, if you recall. One was a call-in for appointments and for answering questions. The second one was for technical support and resetting passwords and those sorts of things. So the resetting of passwords will stay within our facility, but in a different office. And our current call center will be expanded to a claims management and processing center. So that's what we're looking at in phase 2. And again, I'm trying to get the new call center up and operational by the end of this week. The numbers will not change. We will just port the phone numbers to the appropriate locations, and so the public won't have to worry about that. I did want to speak about the CARES Act. There are 3 things that for our department that we've been working on. The first one is to understand that the benefits will expand to a broader population. So under the CARES Act, it will apply to independent contractors and sole proprietors. So it will expand out to basically 1099 type vendors. So the base will increase. The second thing is that the benefit period will increase. So it'll go from a 26-week period to a 39-week period. So it's for 13 additional weeks. The third thing is that they're looking at, we'll have a plus up, a $600 a week plus up. So if you're getting maximum benefits right now, it's $648. That'll go to $1,248. To be sure that we're able to comply and participate in this program, 2 things have to happen. The first one was we had to waive our 1-week waiting period. So if you remember from the governor's first proclamation, we took care of that 1-week waiting period. The second was we needed to complete a memorandum of agreement between ourselves and the U.S. Department of Labor. That had to be submitted by noon on Saturday. So we did take care of that first thing Saturday, Friday afternoon, and it was submitted and confirmed on Saturday afternoon. So we are prepared to take the additional funds that come down to our unemployment insurance program. And the fourth thing I wanted to talk to you about is that we did introduce a program called RUDDER, and it stands for Reducing Unemployment Disruption and Driving Economic Regeneration. And basically what this program does is it allows us to, we took our employment training fund, and for any business that is employing anyone from March 1st, we pay them $1,000 in training funds to train people to address this situation in COVID-19. The way it works is after you hire a person, you send us a certification and an invoice, and we'll pay you $500 per employee. And then for the when you retain that individual for 6 months, we pay an additional $500 for a total of $1,000. There's $4 million in that fund now, and it really needs to get out to the business community. So those were the 4 things that I wanted to share with you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Director Murakami. I'm glad you mentioned the 11,000 or so duplicate filings, because I think in trying to help, someone filing, that they were a little frustrated. I think that's what was happening. They had already filed but did not get their ID number, so they thought that they had not completed the process. So can you tell me how long it takes from the time they file a claim until the time they get their ID number?
Sure. So we currently have 2 systems running now. The normal path that had a web portal, I'm sorry if it gets a little technical, a web portal that was our standard application, online application process. So when you send that, if you go through that portal, you will get back an email pretty quickly. It's that same day turnaround. But when they follow through the web form, that requires us to ingest the data into the database. So we've been doing that into the mainframe. And we've been doing that at a kind of monitored pace. And the reason for that is that the mainframe, what caused this initial system degradation is that the mainframe was getting called upon or getting hit by a number of claimants repeatedly trying to submit it, as well as some inefficiencies that we had within the data structure and the data code that we set up. So basically, we had to find a way to manage that traffic, and the web form allowed us to do that. So it does take a while. I think if you follow through the form, I would have to check, but I think people should be receiving their confirmation numbers very shortly, because we are ingesting it. But the challenge is, I don't know if it, and this is my bad, I don't know if it generates the email once we finish scrubbing it or once we ingest it. I apologize, I'll have to check on it.
Well, they're getting a message that basically says, congratulations, you have completed your claim form successfully.
Right.
And it doesn't state that it's going to take a few days. You have to actually read the directions, so to speak, which I guess many are not doing. So when they don't get it right away, because most of them now would think that it's almost instantaneous, and so when they don't get it, they're trying to file again. But so we do know that if we get that, if they get that comment back, congratulations, you have successfully completed, then they are in fact registered.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And please don't file, and ask them please not to file at that point, because that's what creates the duplicate records. So when we first tried to ingest things, the problem was that it started to create events or rejects into the data system. So we've started to scrub that data now, and it's much cleaner going in. But yeah, they can stop doing replicated or duplicate types of entries. And quite honestly, right, I understand their frustration. So that's why we felt it was our responsibility to fix it on our end.
Thank you very much for that. Senators, any questions? Senator Favela.
I just have one question. I guess I was getting calls because if they would make a mistake and they'll try to go back, like I was saying earlier, are we improving the receiving of phone calls, because some of them is calling for a few days and not getting any entry, just to let the people know that they made a mistake on their filing on the computer.
Neil, we do have the phone banks manned, and we manned it even through Kuhilo Day and through Saturday. And it's interesting because I don't know what's going on, because I do hear people telling me the same thing, Senator Favela, that they're having a hard time getting through the phone lines. But we've noticed a significant drop-off in the calls. So I don't know exactly where that's coming in. I apologize for that, but it's strange because we do know that the phone call volume has dropped. But but I do still get concerns coming through our email box and whatnot, saying that, hey, they're having a hard time calling in. I can tell you that right now we have the room staff. So basically, when we started off, when this started off at the ending of February, we had 7 claims staff in the unemployment insurance office. So through redistributions of staff within the unemployment insurance office, we brought that number up to 45. So this comes in both from unemployment insurance staff as well as staff from the wage standards division, the workforce development division, the disability compensation division. And so I know that from what I've heard, I guess I'm hearing mixed messages, and I apologize for that, but we'll keep trying, and that's why we want to continue to run the phone bank and the call center. But from what we're seeing in the office, it seems to have at least tapered to a more reasonable level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Moriwaki.
Hi, Scott. I know that you're under a lot of pressure. I have a couple of questions. Some of the people who are filing are limited English-speaking service workers, quite a few of them, in fact. And for example, you have the different languages like Turkese and so on, and they're not able to know what the instruction, how they can do it. Is the call center a better place for them to get some help so that they can start the filing and the process sooner than later? What is a call center taking? Is that everybody can call in there, and what is that number so that people can get the help they need more immediately?
Shoot, I don't have the number with me. It's on our website. Hopefully our staff is watching this and over in my office and bringing the numbers. But there are 2 separate phone numbers. One is for resetting passwords and technical support. So if they're having difficulty with their claim because of electronic reasons, they call into that number. The other number, they can call in for an appointment, and we will personally take the claims information over the phone. So that's the best way to go. There are some limitations that we just have to deal with, some corners I guess we have to cut with the plan form. And the reason why is that we had such an increase in claims. I'll give you a quick example of it. So on Monday, the last Monday in February, we took 183 claims. This was Monday, February 24th. We took 183 claims, which is the highest number of claims that we had during that week. I should call them filings, actually. On March 24th, 1 month later, we took 24,523. And that's why we have to find a way to clear that volume and make sure that we can collect the data appropriately from the claimants. So we don't have like multilingual type of form, data forms. And I apologize for that. And the best way as a result is to call us. I know on Friday, the 14th, the 21st, I believe, I did tell the community that we would be accepting drop-down manual forms, but we have to stop that. And the reason for that is that our department completely got overrun by people. And so we couldn't assure the appropriate social distancing. We tried to put up markers where to stand out, and they just, understandably were concerned, so they kind of just converged around the door. So, and then when I came in on Saturday, the 22nd, the concern that we had was that all of the forms had to be cleaned and disinfected. So, it really was creating a lot of additional work, whereas doing it by phone and doing it by the online formats were much more helpful. And please understand that was a really difficult decision to make, because I did want to provide access to the community. But if one of our employees gets sick and they get tested positive for COVID-19, I have to quarantine the whole office. That means nothing gets done. we, at that point, we dead in the water. So it was one of those things where, in light of the public interest of watching out for public health and ensuring the appropriate social distancing, and making sure that our staff stayed healthy and we could protect them so that they could keep processing claims, I had no choice except to do that.
So are you saying that right now the call center can accept calls from anyone and they'll be able to address their problems and help them file promptly?
Yes, that's what our ultimate goal is. But again, I'll go back to Senator Babella's question about the response time, because we're getting mixed messages with that. I don't know if those are just incidentals, but I can tell you that the phone bank has slowed down quite dramatically from what we've seen in the past. Sorry, Senator, I don't mean to I did want to go back and tell you that the tape number to call is 833-901-2252. And that's where we can either set up an appointment or answer their questions.
What was that again? 833 what?
901-2252.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question. I had heard earlier today when you were speaking to the House Committee that it would take from the filing to the time a person gets their first check approximately 3 weeks or 21 days. That to me is a real problem because people are rushing to get in to file with you because they have a problem now if they're unemployed and don't have an income for their rent or mortgage or food. What is the process, if you can walk through that, why it takes 21 days from the time you get the filing of the claim to the point at which a check or is sent to or is received by the claimant?
Okay. So yes, that's accurate. And the reason why is, so we have a 21-day, federal compliance requirements, we have a 21-day window to make payment to people. And we've, in the past, prior to COVID-19 situation, we've hit that mark about 85% of the time. But what happens once they file a claim is we have to go back and do a lot of validation to make sure that we pay the claimant the appropriate amount. And that takes a lot of due diligence. Each claim is individual, and that's why we're setting up the claims examination capabilities now, because we anticipate quite a number of increase in the claims that's reflected by the filings coming in. So it's something, under normal circumstances, 21 days is the amount of time we pay. But to see this level of volume come in, I wouldn't be honest with you if I told you we're going to be able to keep that. And that's why I'm doing everything we can to pay within that 21-day window. But the reality is that I really don't know how long it's going to take. The reason that we've tried to strip out as much as we can to make payments as quickly as possible to claimants, but part of the big challenge is that you have to remember that the UA program is completely federal funded. And so this program then requires us to have conformity with federal law. And so we still have to do the due diligence in evaluating the individual's claim. Now, the reason these things are important, people have asked me, can't we just strip it out and make it a check cutting machine? And it would be great, but the problem with it is that there's a back-end problem that if we don't file for conformity, we then risk losing some of our FUTA match, the federal match that comes in as tax, and it'll then be completely based on employer contributions, including the administrative budgets, the administrative expenses we have.
Discussion with the feds, because they are pushing this to go faster to get to those who need, that there's a way in which, I don't know, it was asked before, but that you could post audit rather than having people wait for 3 weeks when they'd probably be, on the streets with waiting because they have a whole period of time where they're still trying to file. So I'm just wondering whether there's discussion with the USDOL in terms of what they and how they are managing to push this through their structure.
Yes, we are having discussions with DOL, ETA on it, on a number of things.
Has that been discussed?
As it pertains to the the CARES Act, here's what I would really suggest, right? The first thing is we really have to take advantage of the Small Business Administration loans. Keep people employed. Use those, focus on taking good records so that those loans can be forgiven afterwards. Because there's a lot of problems that come with unemployment. What we saw after the Great Recession was a huge spike nationally as well as locally. We've always kind of had this issue, but nationally there was a huge spike with underemployment issues, and that created for social types of problems. So keeping people off of unemployment, in my view, is what our priority really should be, and that can happen through the SBA loans that come out. So that's one thing. In terms of administering the program from our department, so we did do projections on how long the trust fund would last, as well as what else would we need. So we would need an approximate additional about 57 staff. And this is all from the federal programs that are coming out, so the federal funds that are coming out. So we would need overtime, which we did not initially budget for this year, but we put it into the federal request, as well as with additional 57 staff. The short of it, without going through too much detail, comes up to $9.9 million. That's just what we need for administering the fund, the additional programs. Now, one of the suggestions we did provide to the USDOL is that they nationalize the program and come out with, especially for what's called PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance, can't remember what the A is for now. But that way we would have a unified national system that we could input data on. Now, whether or not they're going to do that, I don't know. But what we're doing is we're requesting a new region be set up on the mainframe at ETS so that we can then manage the PUA assistance. Oh, that's what the A was for. The PUA assistance separately. And then that way we don't commingle the funds and we're able to administer it properly.
So you're saying that right now you have funding, or you're requesting funding so that you can upgrade your capacity in terms of your mainframe or your computer system, so you can manage when these 20,000 plus or 100,000 claims come in, that your system wouldn't crash, that you can get your filings and it routed to the right place so that you can expedite checks going to people?
That's correct. So, and I would echo what Greg said. There is some time differences between when we see the federal funding and whatnot. We have not gotten a whole lot of guidance yet from the USDOL. We are waiting for that, but we also are doing our own interpretation of the CARES Act says. But we do have budgets prepared for, number one, how much would we need to administer the additional program funds and the activity given the volume that we're seeing. So we've also simultaneously ran budgets on how long the trust fund would last, because there are different scenarios, right? If they fund the additional UI benefits and the plus-up directly from the feds and do it as a drawdown, for example, versus having it put into our trust fund, those two create different cash flow situations. So assuming that they let us draw it down from a different account, like, they say, okay, this is where you go, you draw down your UI funds from, right? Then we would just be paying the current maximum benefit or our average weekly benefit. So if we were to do it that way with drawdown, our maximum benefit rate would allow us to allow the fund to survive until May 20th, 2020. If we use the average benefit, and that's at $648 a week. If we use the average benefit to calculate it, the average benefit is $550, so $15 a week, 515. That would take us to June 5th, 2020. Now, if we were told that we would have to pay it from our fund and then maybe get reimbursed or something like that, and again, this is just cash flow management issues that we're anticipating, then the additional benefits of $600 paid out of the trust would result in maximum, if we assess it as the maximum benefit, we would exhaust the fund on April 29th. Using the average benefit calculation, we would exhaust the fund on May 2nd. So we're planning prudently, I think, for it. We're doing everything we can to manage it. As you all know, the system was antiquated. It was already well over 10 years old. It's never been stressed like this. It wasn't in play when we had the Great Recession, I believe. I believe that was the timing on it. So it's never been taxed and stress tested to this point. But again, I do have to say a very special thank you to all of our employees and to our contractors and to the ETS employees who have been working around the clock with us and BNF for their support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Murakami, is your call center open 24 hours, 12 hours? What's the time that's open?
So at this point, we can only staff it from 7:45 to 4:30, and we just don't have enough people backing it up. It's really it's really tough work. It's not that simple because they're constantly on the phone, and that's why what we're looking at is when we move it off of our facility, we'll be able to bring in people who are volunteers to run that facility. Because right now, here's the real challenge with it, right? The system that we use has proprietary information in it, and all of the people who touch that have fingerprint requirements under our federal compliance requirements. So I can't just let anybody get into the system and check and input data, which is why the web form is very effective, because the web form then allows me to work with volunteers to upload that data. What we're looking at doing is moving the the call center to the Entrepreneur Sandbox in Kakaako. We can try to expand the hours with more volunteers, but right now our limitation really is in manpower. I would like to say that we did man it, thanks to people who volunteered. We have been manning it on Saturdays. We also did man it on Kuhio Day. I think at Kuhio Day we had to get down about 3:30 though, because people were just exhausted at that point.
Is there any opportunity for you to bring back 89-day hires of your personnel who have retired?
We've tried that, and unfortunately, a lot of people who have retired are not available to work, or have just really, I guess they've kind of moved on and have turned us down. We are working, thanks to the legislature, with getting volunteers into that capacity now. But and we've had a lot of. I'll tell you what else. The volunteers will help quite a bit, I think, with answering the phones. Having retirees would have been very helpful, but unfortunately, they haven't been able to come back and help us. I will tell you that what also helped us quite a bit was that Local 5, IOWU, and HTA reached out to its members and its employer network, and they've been helping people file online at their offices, and that's helped out a lot. It really has helped out a lot, and I have to say that the community really has helped us quite a bit. I think they understand the challenges that we faced and have been very, very supportive of us. And again, I think that's why I think if we focus on the SBA loans, get the loans out there, keep people employed for the period that they were, they weren't working. Of course, we can file a partial unemployment claim, but if we can get them back into their positions, pay for them, and focus on keeping the records accurate so that those loans can be forgiven, that really is the best opportunity we have at a quicker economic regeneration. Otherwise, getting a lot of unemployment, I mean, it's going to be a tough thing to do.
So is there any information that you can pass on to senators to put online on their websites or Facebooks for their constituents, information that would be helpful in getting things out that you want them to know? If you
Absolutely.
If you have a cheat sheet or something that you can pass on to us so that we could...
Sure, we have a lot of information that's on our website, and we look at that regularly, make sure that it's very user-friendly and that people can use it. We also do save every day from 2 to 3 to talk to the media and answer any questions that they have, because it's an uncertain time for the community, and we want them to be able to know that we're doing everything we can. If there are specific questions you'd like us to ask, please notify our pledge coordinator. He's also serving as our PIO, so that you can imagine we just get inundated with messages. So he's doing an incredible job managing that for us, as well as managing the time of press so that we can speak with the community. But our website is probably the most accurate place to go. If you would like to have links to it, I know he does provide regular updates. We provide it to the press whenever they call, but it also goes out to the Joint Incident Command. Yeah.
Thank you. Senators, are there any further questions? Senator Moriwaki.
Just one more question, Scott. I've gotten questions on it's COVID related, like essential worker kinds of questions, which may be labor relations, or it may be your employment, what do you call it, wage and hour, or that kind of questions. This call center, will it answer those kinds of questions, or is there somewhere else, maybe that people may have questions like that not filing a payment for UI, but related to COVID and employees feeling they're not being treated well by their employer? Where does a person like that go? To the call center?
No, actually, that's a great question. I would suggest, so all of our divisions are still open, and we have deemed essential workers. We have identified who these essential workers are, and they are showing up to work. We also have set up the telework infrastructure throughout our department. But for questions that are on wage standards, we're still taking them through our wage standards division. For questions on our RUDDER program, you can call the Workforce Development Division. If they have questions on employment safety and environmental safety things, they most certainly could call our IOSH department, and they'll be able to help as well.
So just a quick request then, building on what Senator Kidani has asked for, if there is this kind of sheet where you can say, these are the kinds of questions you may have, here's where you call. Do you have something like that that is directly usable, not having to go through your website and say, well, what maybe this department, division, or maybe that division, something that's really clear for the public that I have this problem, here's where I can call. Do you have something like that you can share with us?
We don't, and part of the reason is, we spend a lot of time looking at every possible scenario of problems that people will encounter. So unfortunately, prior to COVID-19, people relied on their website to answer those types of questions. We've gotten questions. We've gotten questions about elevator inspectors. We've gotten questions about, about workforce safety with the masks required. We've gotten questions about, how do I know, what do I do if I don't feel I'm an essential worker, kind of things. And so, but I get this report, not from people emailing me. Some of them I do, but most of them I get back from our departments when we hear back from them, our divisions, excuse me. So I know the division lines are still open. I know people are still calling, but we don't have a full fact sheet. We can put some things together. We did do a Q&A fact sheet for UI, I believe, but we can try to put some things together. Just understand that, for us to put all of the different conditions, it would be pretty challenging.
Scott, I guess I'm not asking for you to go case by case what has come in and answers and where you can go, but more, this is the kinds of problems that it has to do with the elevator, it has to do with unfairly treated, at least to know, okay, then you call labor relations, you call, OSHA or DOSH, things like that, just a number where people know, okay, I can call here or there and talk to a live body, can tell them this is what you need to do. Just for people don't know. So if you could just give us the numbers, we can put it out to our constituents.
And Director Murakami, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Whatever that Q&A sheet that you were just talking about, maybe you can start by sending that to us, and we can pick and choose what we think would be useful for our constituents.
Sure. Be happy to do that. I'll talk to the staff about doing something. Maybe, sorry, I was just kind of thinking what might work. But maybe like a quick summary of each of the divisions and what they do and things of that nature might be helpful, because the problem with ELIR, right, is you're really important when things like this happen, and until then they may not really know, they may not be familiar, so that might be a good start.
Thank you.
So we'll start with something like that, okay?
Thank you very much. So members, if there are no further questions, thank you very much, Director Murakami, and we appreciate you being here and discussing with us the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Hey, take care now. Be safe.
You too. Okay. We have our 2:30. We're already 17 minutes late. Thank you for staying with us. And we have live and in person, Department of Human Services. Director Pankaj Manal, please come forward. And Director, just so you know, we have two senators online, Chair De La Cruz and Senator Ke'oho Kolole. So if you want to open with a statement.
Yes, thank you, Senator Kidani, and aloha everyone. Good to be here. State of Hawaii Department of Human Services actually created a continuity of operation plan, COVID-19 Annex. And we sent it to all involved very early on, before the consolidation even took place, before we even got the information that it needed to be consolidated and transmitted. We did it because I had a health emergency. So I instructed our executive team because we were already working on it way in advance, so we were able to put it together and send it in. And that plan has so many different aspects to it. Some have come already, we are facing with it, some we have not. It all depends on the severity of the pandemic. But in the meantime, Department of Human Services has taken very aggressive and proactive actions to protect the health and safety of individuals and families we serve and our staff. You all know that Department of Human Services always is not essential in a true sense in a disaster. It's first responders, but the state gives us the order that we are open for business, we come in and we take care of business, and we have all staff, all hands on deck. This is a very unprecedented and challenging situation where we need to exercise social distancing. At the same time, provide services in an uninterrupted manner. That was the biggest challenge of a 20-year career that I have with Human Services. We needed to adapt, we needed to be bold, we needed to be creative, and we needed to just try anything that we could, and we did. And I'll give you a few examples of implementation of the COVID-19 Annex, how we have ensured the continuity of operations. I'm going to take Medicaid first, so you folks get the idea of what it took to get it done. We absolutely made the decision that there is no face-to-face contact except for certain investigation sites of Child Protective Services and Adult Protective Services, because we have to go out and we will follow all the CDC and Department of Health guidelines to protect our staff. We are fending for ourselves, where we are ordering the PPEs the best we can, and what we have currently we are sharing with our frontline staff so they are safe and secure as they serve. So for MedQuest, first thing is very clear that like all other services we provide, there is no copay for this COVID-related services, no copay. We are encouraging people to apply online because we have a robust online eligibility application on a very robust infrastructure, the enterprise platform. We have no downtimes. We are hearing some rumors out there that Medicaid application is not available, or there are a lot of downtimes and all. No, I am not aware of our system going down at all at this point. And we have full capacity to take any caseload that is going to come from a Medicaid perspective. Now, people who don't have access to computers and other things, yes, they can come and send us the information, drop it in the Dropbox. We'll take all the protective measures that we need to open it up and execute that strategy. They can call us as well. All our staff on rotational basis are working from the office, and there is one-third staffing that is live in the offices across the state because of social distancing. The rest of them are doing the very best they can. Those who can are actually doing it through online means or through telephone. So we will be able to respond to people's concerns through telephone, through other means of communication. We'll be able to tackle those. And then moving forward, we have postponed the implementation of all new health plan contracts. But that doesn't mean that our procurement has just ended. Procurement is still ongoing, it's in a certain phase, but in the meantime, we wanted to make sure that the current contracts are continuing until further notice, so people don't get confused as to what is going to happen to my service. Is my provider going to be a provider of record for them or not? Or is that provider going to be part of the plan that I'm going to choose or not? We didn't want that confusion to really create further complexity. We are already faced with a pandemic. We didn't want to do that. And now with eligibility for Medicaid and Medicaid members, we have what we have done is we have suspended all disenrollments. We are not disenrolling anybody who is currently receiving Medicaid. We will not. And this is also a condition for the 6.2% federal matching FMAP rate that we currently have been informed through the CARES Act that we have 6.2% increase. What that number would look like, how many millions in federal funds that will translate into, we will know in due course as more information becomes available. Other thing that you folks need to know is that people can self-attest their income and enroll even if our automated notices and checks will show a discrepancy with the actual income and what they are self-attesting to. So we need to make sure that we'll take care of that. They will have 90 days to provide evidence of their actual income if there is any. So they will be able to do so. And as far as administrative hearings are concerned, they will get additional 120 days in addition to the days that currently they get. Additional 120 days they'll have to provide us with that notice, all the beneficiaries. Then with the healthcare delivery system, the 1135 waiver flexibilities, just note, we did not get everything that we have asked for. But what we have gotten is that we can enroll the providers very, very fast. And as we speak, the executive order that the governor is supposed to issue today has the provision to waive certain requirements for fingerprinting and other procedural matters to expedite the process. Telehealth. We have expanded wherever it was allowed. Telehealth is in play, and it is a very important form of delivering a service in social distancing era. We are continuing to evaluate how far we can go with telehealth, what more we can do. So we are working collaboratively with the Department of Health to really address that issue because they have the lead on this telehealth effort. As for now, the conditions for the FMAP, because we cannot disenroll, there are other conditions to receive additional FMAP, the federal funds. And those conditions are that absolutely Department of Human Services cannot change the eligibility criteria. Whatever was set in stone on January 1, 2020 remains the criteria moving forward. We cannot disenroll anybody from the program. And also, COVID-19 testing and treatments are without cost sharing. Now, health insurance for currently unemployed, it's a huge issue. I think I totally agree with Director Murakami that small business loans and other strategies that are included in the CARES Act is a perfect strategy to ensure all our residents are employed and are getting their benefits. Of course, there are many business connotations and strategies that businesses must use to survive. So that would be my recommendation as well. At this point, whether they apply for Medicaid or they apply for federal exchange, the health insurance from Federal Exchange, they will qualify for one or the other if they have no other ways of getting their health insurance. So they should not be self-determining eligibility. They should just apply and let those two systems determine whether they talk a little bit more about adult daycare programs that are currently in state of waiting. We did include in our 1135 waiver request, which was submitted a week ago, I think around March 20th, a request to allow retention payments as well as change in scope of adult daycare programs that would allow them to do some of their services via telehealth or through telephone. Our approval last week, March 26th, did not include approval of those provisions yet. But that doesn't mean that it is not going to be approved. Conversations are still ongoing, and we are continuously working with CMS to get those approvals. Yes, Maryland had it. Yes, Florida had it. Yes, California had it. But it all is, every case is a new case. I wish that the federal government can take all the best of the waivers that are already granted, and all states get the blanket waiver on those things would be the fastest strategy in this pandemic. But unfortunately, that is not how it is working. So moving forward, if any of these daycare providers, adult daycare providers, if they choose and they want to become for home-based providers, home-based care providers, they can do so. They can apply with Department of Health and get licensed for that purpose. And we, under the 1135 waiver and certain executive order that hopefully is going to be issued today, would allow us to expedite the approval of these newly licensed home-based providers who previously were not. So we'll be able to expeditiously do that as well because of the waiver and because of the Hawaii revised statute that we are asking for it to be suspended just for that narrow purpose of doing quicker approval of those new Medicaid providers. As you all know, Governor or I, we do not have any ability to waive federal laws or regulations or rules that they have. So we have to work with CMS to get all of those things done. So that's that portion. And then the questions that we are getting are about the kapuna who have been affected by the adult daycare that have already closed across the islands. And we have been tracking this on our 3 times a week call with our plans, all our health plans. We are speaking to them 3 times a week. As of Friday, during our last call with the managed care plans, they have called each and every person who had been receiving those services to ensure that they are taken care of. Gratefully, very satisfied with this particular effort that went on. The majority are currently supported by their family members who are now home during the day. That being said, all the plans noted that this will likely not be supported over the longer term and have started planning to send home care to their homes to ensure that the kapuna are doing well. And we will keep an eye on this because we believe this is one service during this time for this vulnerable population. We need to keep an eye on it, and we need to make sure they are healthy, safe, and thriving. Now, a little bit about SNAP program, because as you all know that it is 100% federally funded program, and we have asked for a lot of waivers to really make a difference in our communities, particularly those who are able-bodied adults without dependents in particular. Because you know that if they don't have work, their eligibility is limited to 90 days for SNAP. And I didn't think that that is going to work for us. And we were very aggressive. And we approached the federal government, the Food and Nutrition Service of USDA, and we got a lot of waivers done in this. BESD, our work is done totally no face-to-face contact. It's all telephone, and it's all through telephone, email, or other means. They can still drop off their applications and documentation. We'll use all precautions, and we'll take care of that. And if they go to a processing center, they can, as I said, they can drop it off. And EBT cards, we are not going to be issuing in person. They will be sent to the last known address because we do not have any ability to bring in people and go through the process because of the fear of this virus just impacting our workforce, and then we are totally just, will come to a screeching halt. We won't be able to deliver any service. First-time applicants, we were very creative. Even though we don't have any capacity to take the information electronically and actually feed it to the system of record, which is 30-year-old system, we created an online fillable application for SNAP and TANF. For our financial assistance programs, GAABD is all on it. It's electronic. They can fill it, they can email it, they can mail it, they can drop it off on the box. If they decide to email it, we have multiple waivers that we got where we can take a picture of a signature page so they can certify their application by taking a picture, attaching it as an email attachment, and sending it to us. We can do telephone signature by calling them. They can do it on a telephone. And those are the type of creative things we had to do, and we created an email address where they can just send all these things in one place, and our staff will go and start to clear a lot of those things. As far as current recipients, we have a waiver from the federal government, which allows us to extend the certification period for 6 months. All the certification period that is going to be in March, April, and May is going to be extended for a 6-month period, because our intent was that none of our residents who are currently receiving services, SNAP benefits, they should not be denied that. And that was the purpose of getting this certification. Other waiver we have received from FNS is that the ABOD work requirements, that they must have a work requirement if they want to continue to be on SNAP. We have gotten the waiver where if the employment, education, and training activities are not available, which they are not in many cases, we will be able to continue to provide SNAP benefits on an ongoing basis. It's an amazing opportunity for us to ensure that our residents have food on their tables for themselves and their families. It was very, very important for us to get that done. We have also requested a waiver for part-time students who are supposed to have 20 hours of work requirement. Because of the closure of food establishments, entertainment, recreation industry, and many others, they are not able to have any hours of work. So we are waiting for that waiver to come in, because my worry is that this group, even though not a large one, but they are going to be impacted negatively if we don't do something about them. So we'll keep you folks posted regarding this. Now, another program that a couple of things that I want to share on the Benefit Employment and Support Services Division side is that GA, the General Assistance Program for our temporarily disabled population, we are going to do presumptive eligibility moving forward, because we have no ability at this point to really have doctors do the evaluation and assessment on an ongoing basis because of the social distancing. I cannot have our GA population and applicants. Today I do all these things that we are creating this opportunity for families to just get their benefits and do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. But eventually reconciliation is going to come. Documentation has to be kept unless federal government waives it. So what are we going to do in those cases where we are recovering overpayments today? So Social Security Administration has deferred the recovery of such payments through tax offset programs till September of this year. So they don't have to pay whatever is the agreed upon amount that these individuals or families must pay to pay their overpayments. So that is also a very good sort of waiver that we have. Now, let me talk a little bit about childcare. Childcare is a very important component of part of our effort to really keep communities healthy and thriving and working and pursuing activities where they can improve their educational and vocational skills and trainings, maintain and retain employment. We have already authorized emergency childcare for first responders and any family that is impacted. Not sure of that age, what we agreed on, because I didn't get that information. Anywhere between like 10 to 12 years age, but currently they're licensed for up to 5-year-old or before and after school up to a certain age. But we are going to allow children up to the age 12 to be cared for in these facilities. We are also going to allow providers to really transfer their staff that is currently already cleared by the Department of Human Services to work out of another center, to work for another employer, other provider, because this is the time where we must do everything we can to protect the health and safety while also providing all essential services that we must. So that is going to happen. We are going to have the income requirements for subsidy for those who are impacted by this pandemic. We are not going to subject them to that 85% of state median income requirement. We are not going to require activity as a criteria to receive this payment, and we are also going to agree to provide that dispensation to state of Hawaii, where we can do it through video and other means. That doesn't mean that our obligation has ended. So far we have no issues, even though staff is available, that they can do it online or through the phone, and it's been working very well. Homeless shelters and outreach programs, they are essential services. We are maintaining a very close contact with providers and working with them to provide more flexibility with their contract requirements and terms. And we have established weekly office hours for all providers in partnership with the Department of Health, Behavioral Health Services Administration to work on these things. And outreach staff continue to make sure basic services are offered to unsheltered individuals. And a lot of work is going on with street property that we are going to put in play. We are also working with Department of Health and the Tourism Authority and many others to look at certain hotels that can be used for caring for some of the population who is unsheltered. But it all is going to be in accordance with the CDC guidelines and generally what the understanding with different counties and mayors is going to be. We are integral part of that conversation, and will be able to provide more information as it becomes available. Domestic violence shelters, we are continuing to work very closely with them to ensure that services are continuously provided. This is the time where domestic violence or adult and abuse, children and the abuse of adults and children can become a problem because of the economic stress and many other stressors, particularly health and other things. So we will be carefully watching all of this. And now let me talk about the purchase of service providers that you folks all have, the nonprofits in the community who are providing very valuable services. We have extended the same courtesy and strategy to them as well, like ours. They can work remotely. They can work with various methodologies. They can telephone. They can do it online. They can find other ways of doing it, because we do not want them to do it face to face as well, because they are dealing with our clients and they are part of our communities as well. So we didn't want to do that. Only caveat to all of this is they must remain open like I'm open for them to continuously receive the payments for the services they provide. Because if they shutter their doors, I'm going to have a very difficult time making that payment. So they need to find a way to work collaboratively with us and within their own organizations to have a business plan that keeps them open and continue to provide the best service possible in the circumstance we are in. Now, a little bit about a couple of things about the caseload and then federal funding, the influx of federal funding, and then I'm going to be done. Very sure I'm going to be done. MedQuest. 6,409 applications to date as of yesterday. It's 20% increase over January and February. In a day, on March 26th, we got 1,673 applications. Overall caseload, if you compare it to February, 4% increase we are already seeing, and it's only comparing to February. BESD, we are averaging 400 applications per day, and it used to be 200 to 250 per day. For MedQuest and BESD, it's almost a 40% increase in what we are receiving. Now, a little bit about federal and state funds for COVID response. Department of Human Services, as you all know, is a direct recipient of a lot of federal funds, whether it comes for child welfare, whether it comes for TANF, childcare, Medicaid, and many other programs that we have. We are the beneficiaries of funding that is going to come through the CARES Act. That includes LAHEAP for our low-income housing energy assistance program, which is normally used for once a year and for emergencies. This would be going towards that, but we don't know exactly what the amount is and what the expectation is of distributing this money, because it has to be for COVID-related purposes. So we'll work on that as soon as it comes in, just like Director Murakami was talking about. The other part of the conversation is the CCDBG for childcare. If I'm going to be waiving income requirements and I'm going to be waiving requirements for activity and other things, of course now I'm going to have more applications, and this money, as it comes in, whatever that amount is going to be, will exclusively be using for families that are going to become eligible today. During this period, last 2 weeks, whenever that emergency proclamation was done, all the money would be then, I'm going to start charging to that account as it comes in, to keep a very clear record of every single penny that is being spent by the Department of Human Services is accounted for, that it is COVID related. So later when the reimbursements are going to come in and many other funding sources are going to come to bear for that, at least we will exactly know what we were spending on what services that now we can be reimbursed for. So just two more things. As you know, that Medicaid will be receiving 6.2% increase in the FMAP, which could result in multiple tens of millions of dollars, if not $100 million or more. So we will keep an eye on that as well, because this will all go towards the COVID-19 response. And then the lastly, as you know, SNAP is a 100% federally funded program. There is additional money that is going to be coming to states to really pay for this, because as you know, with all these waivers that we have received, we are going to see people are staying on SNAP longer because of the economic conditions we find ourselves to be in. That's my take on the department, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions senators have. Thank you.
Thank you for that overview. It's very encouraging to hear how motivated you are to make sure
It's our families.
community
It's our community.
is taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Rather than some of the other departments that, we hear all the why they cannot. So I very much appreciate that. Senators, any questions? Senator Kim?
Pankaj, I also join in with Senator Kidani. For all the departments, you seem to be the one on top of everything, seem to be proactive for everything, and we appreciate that. And you had mentioned earlier that you had a plan and that you had started that plan earlier. Was that plan ever, did we get a copy of it, or was it ever submitted to us?
It was. As I stated, Senator, we submitted it before the consolidation instruction came. I was not feeling very well, and I instructed that we are going to let's just go and create the annex. As soon as we got the Washington memo from Senator De La Cruz's office, we submitted it to the governor's office, HAIMA, to Ways and Means, and to House Finance, because I felt that I was not sure if I was going to be able to respond to it or not. So I turned it in.
Thank you. One of the few that we got, so appreciate that. Also on SNAP.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the income limitation on that?
SNAP income limitation. Give me a second. I knew this may come up, so I have it. Just give me a second. I do have the SNAP.
What does SNAP mean?
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Food stamps.
Senator, that's the former food stamp program.
This is for listening audience.
Right.
Oh, sorry. SNAP, yes, formerly Food Stamps, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So for SNAP, at 133% of federal poverty level, for a single person to qualify based on the 2019 standard, because 2020 federal poverty levels are not out yet when I created this chart, it's $19,125 that they have to have. This is for a single person to qualify for SNAP. And for a family of three, it's roughly $34,000.
Okay, so anything over that, they're not.
They may not, but then there are a lot of gross and net testing, so they may. So it all depends.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes.
So those who now find themselves unemployed could qualify for SNAP?
Yes, but maybe not. Depends. It depends. So let me just give you a quick example to just make it very clear. So if they are getting $600 of unemployment insurance, the federal influx that's going to come in addition to what they otherwise would have received, that could be all the way up to $640 in a way, right? So if they get $1,240 per week, they may not qualify because that is considered income. For certain programs, we can waive that, but since it's a 100% federal funded program, federal laws, they do not allow us to waive the unemployment insurance benefit as an income. For childcare and other places, we have discretion, we can do something about it, but we cannot do it for SNAP, and I don't believe we will be able to do it for Medicaid as well, from that perspective.
Thank you. Senator Favela?
I know some places, like in Ever Beach and Ocean Point, they're doing they're doing testing. But apparently they're telling them, come to the testing, bring your ID and your insurance card.
Yeah.
So to me, it's having these clinics, the fly-by-night clinics that want to offer that in the community, have a spot to not only, I don't use the word victimize, but having an opportunity to start charging individuals because of the being panicked for getting tested. You know like how right there's a criteria in symptoms, right? So I'm hearing that in some of the communities that they're having clinics that usually is in other areas, Kalihi, Waipahu, somewhat, is going into community centers saying that, hey, we can have you tested quicker if you come to the certain center. But you have to bring your insurance card and your ID. It's possible that, if we don't get the free testing, that we're going to have to charge your insurance company. Did you hear anything about that going on?
Not at all. I think it's wrong if that's happening, but I've not heard anything. They shouldn't be charged for COVID-19 related issues with testing. None of our Medicaid recipients should be. I don't know the general insurance out there because they shouldn't, because that's not what we heard in the federal clarifications as well. Even the task force that the president has, I've not heard that the any insurance carrier or a health plan can charge for this.
Well, I'm surprised that they have them available because we've been told that they're not testing if they don't have them.
With my hands on my folder, I'm concerned that I'm in person sitting here with you folks.
And I'm glad to hear that you're talking about home care because you're the ones that take the adult care.
I agree. I
know that was a big thing that was calling in my area because if they cannot have the guys come to them, how do you know if they're being taken care of at home? So to have this waiver and having to be able to go and continue care at home, I think that's a great idea. And thank you for that. And like the rest of the senators, it's a very good breath of fresh air to have somebody to have so much information for us that not giving us I don't know how else to say it, excuses. I guess that's what it'll be, excuses. I mean, basically, you had your plan, you gave it to us, and you came and you summarized it, and thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Actually, what we found was plan was just a plan. When the reality hit, it's totally a different reality.
Yes.
But we were able to adapt and respond.
Thank you.
If I would have written the plan today, it would be a very different document.
Thank you.
Senator Moriwaki.
Hi, Pankaj. Again, I too commend you for having the continuity of operations plan far ahead of time, one of the few departments. And as you said, things change day by day, and whether you have any of these changes in the plan, that we could have an update of where we're going forward, in terms of what you're going to do. I think it would be helpful to have that now, knowing that we're in that situation, what kinds of things have changed, and where do you need to adjust. That would be good to have, because it was an extensive plan. Thank you.
But that plan is going to remain as is. I think what I presented today, these are the things we're going to encapsulate to really how we are moving forward on that fundamental foundation. That's the plan. But all these things are part of that plan as to be ready to deliver something. So these things will become part of it, and as we mature, as we continue to mature and evolve, we'll keep that updated. So just prior to testifying, I asked our PIO, Amanda Stevens is there, and Joe Campos, our administrative assistant for the department. I've requested that we provide this information that you can actually use for any purposes that you need to, because our press brief was very comprehensive as well. So we'll share that, and our websites are very much created to provide you with the information. If you have a question on SNAP, where to go. If you have a question on TANF, what to do, who to call, which offices to go. So that's already there, but we will provide this information to all of you, so you have it on an ongoing basis. We'll keep you folks posted, so you don't have other scenarios developing.
I just have one question that we've had ongoing. My concern about the kupuna, and especially those that are limited English speaking, that they continue to get the services, and the providers in the community that are providing the services, we're getting mixed messages. I know that home and community-based services have this 1915C, not to get into the weeds, waiver, and also that we've been told that you should do phone calls. These providers that you already have as your agents in the community should do phone calls to ensure that they're well cared for, take the food, take the medicine, and so forth. But they're getting mixed messages that, that is not in their scope of services and therefore can't do it. So if there can be a clarification of that, so we extend the services as much as possible through the infrastructure that's there.
Good point, and that's exactly what I was addressing. The home-based care is the one that if these providers who otherwise are daycare, adult daycare, if they just go and file with OCA at the Department of Health, that is the Office of Healthcare Assurance, if they can just file and then they convert themselves to home-based care providers, they can license them. And once they are licensed, they can actually provide that information to become a Medicaid home-based provider, Medicaid provider, and we can actually very quickly move forward and certify them as such, and they can start to do those things. It's a process. Only thing that we didn't get is the rate that we are continuously working with. But this part can be done as soon as they are licensed, and they can then approach Medicaid, MedQuest division of ours, and they can then certify them as Medicaid provider.
So how long is that process? Because they are seeing seniors in need today, and for example, for food, calling them, and they need food and medicine to be delivered. How soon can that be provided so that they can in fact continue the services?
It's the same old thing with Scott. He was talking about the same thing as the mandatory requirement and the ability to do quicker. We were waiting for certain approval from the federal government, which we got. Now we need to do something with our state regulation related to fingerprinting and some other procedural things. Once these are done, we can move pretty quickly. I cannot tell you exactly how long it's going to take, but it's going to shave off many, many days of the process. I'm just waiting for that executive order to be finalized. And if we have that, we'll be able to do it pretty rapidly. But I just don't have the timeline that what it would do to cut that time frame for that process to be certified.
Yeah, you understand that the seniors are the ones that are, hurting.
I'm going to be a senior. I'm very.
We are.
Well, it's not just
care about
seniors,
it's everybody.
Right now, all our communities are hurting, and there's
medically
all where both parents have been laid off,
Expediting is not a problem. I'll do it as long as it's allowable under the law. Whatever we need to do, we'll get every possible dispensation from the Attorney General's office and from the federal partners. And if I'm unable to, then we find another way to do it.
Because I see this home and community-based services waiver. It's like a blanket waiver just to keep the services going, calling people, making sure we know what they need.
Plans are doing it today. Adult daycare guys cannot become the community-based home and community-based providers because they're not set up for that purpose. Yes, they want to do it. Yes, they have capacity. We need to license them for that purpose, and we'll certify them as Medicaid providers for that purpose. My only thing is, just stay patient with the department. we will get it done, and I assure you of that.
Quickly, please.
I'll try my very best.
Our seniors need you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So Pankaj, for some of the programs, whether it be TANF, BESD, MedQuest, what kind of timelines are you seeing for people who are now, you know, I think you said you had 6,400 requests for MedQuest just last Thursday alone?
So here is what the preliminary numbers are, and it's a very fluid situation. So for example, you have expedited SNAP. You have state has 7 days to do it in expedited SNAP. That's if you're homeless or you have zero income, right? And then you have 30 days for all cases. We used to do it within 2 to 3 days. Maximum 4 days, we had eligibility done out. Doesn't matter who you are. We didn't think you're expedited. We didn't think you're a regular case. We were very, very fast. Our timeliness rate to do benefits was 97.4%, certified by the federal government. So it's a very, very high rate that we have in the country. So currently we are seeing that because of the staffing allocation and how the staffing is because of the social distancing, we are seeing that it's slipping into 5 and 6 days, which is still very good. It's not like they're waiting for 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, like TANF is all the way up to 45 days. But we are also doing that within that short window, as long as they have everything in hand and we have it from them. We are doing eligibility very, very fast. On MedQuest, as you know, that you do it online within 24 hours, you know it's up or down, unless you don't have total information. We are doing it very, very rapidly, and it's a fact.
So then my follow-up question for MedQuest is that are the providers still taking eligible recipients? They are.
Because they pick a plan, and current plans, they pick a plan, and the plans are taking them. And the question going to be COVID related, right? What's going to happen to exclusively during this period? We'll see how it all goes. At this point, I don't have any information as to what would happen with this influx of COVID-19 related applicants, and once we do their eligibility.
Well, that 6,409 number that you threw out for MedQuest
as of yesterday.
Yeah.
This month.
That's for the month of February? March.
To date, so I don't have data as to what happened to those applications, unfortunately.
No, and
that'll be good.
I guess I was kind of startled. I didn't think it would be that much because most of the employers, the hotels, et cetera, they're saying that they're extending their health care benefits, et cetera. But this number tells me that's not really particularly true.
But may not be, because I was talking to Senator Kahale. There were certain employers who were contemplating letting employees go and also not give benefits as well. So since then, a lot of these employers are changing, but these folks have already applied. So if their ongoing health insurance is in play, then these applications are going to get denied. So I really don't know how it is all going to work, because a lot of them, because of their income, because of the unemployment insurance eventually when it comes in, and they start to receive it, they may not be eligible, because for MedQuest, I believe, a family of 3, for example, it roughly is 34,000 for a family of 3, and for a single person is roughly 20,000. So they may not qualify, but then they would have to go and get it from the federal exchange, and there would be amount of subsidy will change as to how much they will qualify for. So we are taking all applications because I don't want people to start to determine their own eligibility.
Yes.
Let us do it, and if you are not, then you have other avenues that they will have to go through. That would be my take on it.
That's really a good point to make. So for those who are losing their eligibility, they should be contacting you guys immediately.
Definitely.
But once they have applied and they, their eligibility, their health benefits are in fact going to continue to be covered, they need to make sure they let you know so that
or we will find out later on, and it will become it becomes more work. If they notify, that'll be nice.
Yes. Senators De La Cruz or Keoho Kolole, do you have any questions?
No, that was pretty extensive, so thank you for all that explanation.
Jarrett, what about you? None, okay. Any further questions, members? Pankaj, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was very
Thank you, everybody.
informative. And so you will send us your,
This particular documentation, they'll put together more from a public perspective,
Yes.
because this was
So
my
that we can
conversation
use-
with
yes.
you. So we'll be a little bit more, in a simple terms, we'll try to put it. So Amanda folks will work on it, and then we'll send it to you folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Adjourned.